All right, YouTube, it's Mr. Mean again one more time. Just doing another quick video. My hair is crazy today, huh? Maybe if I got a haircut. Doubt it. Never happened. Wife's getting on me. Anyway, today another review. Monte Cook's Cypher System. This started with a core game called Numenera, and then it branched out to The Strange. Both successful Kickstarters. Sadly, I didn't get to back either one of them at the time. I had other obligations. But then there was talk of Monte Cook and the community said, "Hey, we want a generic rule book to play supers, play Pulp Fiction, play Dinosaur Wars, play fantasy. That wasn't so strange like either The Strange, which is modern day, or Numenera, which is far future / fantasy. We want an open sandbox that we can choose whatever genre we want, and that's where Cypher System came. I believe they also did a Kickstarter for this. I can't remember. Please correct me if I'm wrong in the notes. But it's Monte Cook Games. Again, they made Numenera and The Strange. So if you know those two games, you know this. This is the basic rules. This is, and it's chunky. This thing's weighing in, and it's hardback. Beautiful interior art. Very, very well done. I would love to have seen if they did a special Kickstarter edition, because I'm sure it would have had amazing art in it. But aside from the character sheets, we're looking at 411 pages of goodness. Last two pages, of course, are an index, and we all know how important those are. I can tell you the production quality on this is phenomenal. It's hardback. It's stitched in there. It's color coded. Every chapter has, up in the upper right or left hand corner, has a colored code which corresponds to what the chapter is. This is neat. I bought it on Amazon. Got it for, I think, right at $40 off of the $59.99. Because I'm a gamer on a budget with a baby coming, But I wanted it in my collection. Do I play it? No. I played Numenera. Didn't like it. I was not a fan of it. I didn't feel that it gave me as a player enough choices. I liked it from a GM standpoint, and the fact that I don't have to roll dice. The players do everything. So I could focus on the story. And I'm a huge fan of games that allow the game master to focus on the story, because I think that's why we play these games. We want to be entertained. If it was easy, everybody would do it. If you want to just go watch a movie for mindless entertainment. But here, in RPGs and games like this, the Cypher System, you're the hero, you're the action star, you're the dramatic persona. And that's what's cool. And this game really allows you to do that, really allows you to bring the characters into the center focus and allows them to be the heroes and to be the focal point for all the adventures. There's a cool thing called GM Intrusions. So players are going along, everything's going their way. And a GM intrusion can be anything where the GM steps in and says, hey, this happens. So you have a player, let's use the superhero genre. Mr. Sparks is an electricity hero, and he's fighting the bad guy. Well, then all of a sudden I throw in a GM intrusion where I say, oh, well, Dr. Magneto has your girlfriend Betty and tells you that if you don't let him go with this bag of diamonds that he's just heisted, his goons are going to kill Betty, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, if you accept the GM intrusion, you get some experience points. You get an experience point, and then you get an extra experience point that you get to give to another player, which I think is really cool because it makes everybody more interested. You're more likely to pay attention if, oh, hey, I might get an experience point too. So you want to be active. There's nothing worse than telling a story or running a game and someone sitting there playing on their phone, while you're trying to narrate, the scenes of the action in the story. So it does a really great job of keeping everybody engrossed in the narrative. And I can't give kudos enough to that. I think it's a great thing. So, like I said, they've got Numenera, which is very well supported. There's tons of books for Numenera. Same with The Strange. And I have both Numenera and The Strange, and they were great reads. I enjoy them. Just not my games. I really had high hopes for The Strange. It just didn't spark me. Wasn't what I wanted. I thought it was very cool. It's very well written. The design quality is phenomenal. Again, hardback books, both of them. Awesome. I do not regret buying them at all. But were they what I was looking for? No, they weren't. Sadly, just didn't appeal to me. And that's the joy of gaming. You know, there's something out there for everybody. You just have to find it. So with this, I can make my own world. They give you all the foundation and everything that you need to create a world and create a genre that you want. And then they're coming out with setting books. So there's going to be a superhero setting. There's going to be a sci-fi setting. There's going to be a horror setting. And there's going to be a fantasy setting. Well, the cool part is you don't have to wait. Gods of the Fall, the first setting book for the Cypher System. This is written by Bruce Cordell. It uses the Cypher System, and it's Gods of the Fall. So this is a fantasy setting along the veins of Numenera in that it's its own distinct setting. Because Numenera, I don't think there was ever anything out like Numenera ever before. Even from the big boys like GURPS and Savage Worlds, I don't think they ever had any setting that was even remotely similar to Numenera, and so that's cool. So, and that's where this falls in. This is that same thing. This is its own hard fantasy. I don't want to call it high fantasy. I don't want to call it low fantasy. I'd call it hard fantasy because it's a dog eat dog world. Gods of the Fall is just that. The gods have fallen. The realm of, I can never say the name, Elenthar, Elenthar has fallen. That was the realm of the gods, and it was up above, and it was mystical and magical, and there was good gods and there were bad gods. Well, something happened, cataclysm, and they fell. They fell to earth. They died. They're gone. They're no more. There's no more gods. So then enter your player characters. You have the spark of the divine. You have your templates in here that you pick, and you want to be the god of strength, he who fights one-handed, or he who bristles with muscles, whatever. They have a whole adjective and noun and adverb thing that they go through to describe your character. It's very cool. They go into very strong detail in the Cypher System, and then they break it down even further in here, and then they give you specific character types in here. And then you go from there. And so it has its own character sheet, which is different. And again, weighing in at 190 pages, it's phenomenal. The art is gorgeous in the book. I mean, I'm sure you can see that. It's just very well done. It's full color, very well laid out again, very similar to the Cypher book, a little aesthetically different, but the art is phenomenal, and they go through equipment. Ciphers, if you're familiar, are in here as well, so are shards. Ciphers are little tiny pieces of the god or their realm that are, coalesced into a chunk of whatever, and you use them. So it's a fantasy setting. So that +1 sword could actually be a sword of one of the gods, and you incorporate it into your story. So really neat setting. Bruce Cordell did a phenomenal job on writing this. He gives a nice little foreword in the beginning to just, tell you a little bit about it. The introduction was by Bruce, and I mean, the art's phenomenal. It kind of gives me that feel of Exalted from White Wolf, where you're the precursors to the gods, so to speak, or of gods. And so as you tell your story and as you progress through your tiers, they don't use levels in Cypher System, they use tiers. So tier 1 is the start, and you get some minor powers that set you above the average guy. And then tier 2, you get better powers, and so on and so forth. And you can mix and match. So even though, say, you're going down the strength tier, there's nothing that stops you from going from an intellect and taking an intellect power. So you can make the hero that you want, the god, so to speak, that you want. So really neat, awesome system. The art is phenomenal. I'm really jonesing on the superhero setting. I can't wait for it to come out. That's definitely on my Christmas wish list. The horror setting I'll probably pick up too, because I kind of dig horror. And of course, the sci-fi setting, I gotta pick that up because come on, it's sci-fi. But this is their first fantasy. I'm not sure if they're opening up the license to other publishers to make books, kind of like WotC did with the 3.5 OGL and the 5e OGL. Or, I think GURPS has it to a certain extent as well. But it'd be interesting to see if they do, because there's all kinds of genres. There's the role-playing game out there for everybody. So this is just another good example of a different type of game. Again, not one that I personally want to run, but I wanted it in my collection because, the cover is phenomenal. The art is neat. I dig the Cypher system. As a player, it's not for me. There's not enough skill. There's not enough crunch in it. It's a little too open-ended, in my opinion. As a GM, I don't mind GMing it. I've ran it once. I ran Numenera. I did it one session for about 4 hours. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I liked it. I even did a Kickstarter where I backed these specific D20s. The game uses a D20 for its die. It's the only die it uses. I think you can use D6s for certain things. When you find ciphers, they have levels and other pieces of shards or whatever you want to call them for the different game. Numenera in Numenera. And you roll a d6 and it determines the level of it and stuff, or how many charges and or uses it may have, or how many pills you find, whatever it may be. So yeah, basically d6s and a d20, but all your abilities are configured off of a d20 when you try to do something, and that's a multiple of 3 or 4. Yeah, so everything goes in ranks of 3. So a second level mook basically has an attack of 6 to hit you. It goes 2 down 3 to 6. And a third level would be a 9, and so on. A fourth level would be 12, and so that's what they've got to roll to hit you on a d20, and vice versa. And you roll, so you roll for defense. So the GM never rolls dices. So if I tell you my mook is attacking you, you would roll a d20, and you're rolling your defense or better based on his attack. So if he needs a 12 to hit you, you need to roll, and you need to roll, under a 12 so that your defense kicks in and stuff. And if it doesn't, then you take wounds and the damage and yada, yada, yada. Easy system, super easy. There's a lot of rules, but they're laid out really well, and you only use what you need. So like Gods in the Fall, they have a special section where they introduce their rules that are specific to this setting, and the rules that they change in this setting, because this is specific, this is generic. And so it's nice that they do that, and they lay it all out in a concise manner, and it's easy, and it's just really well done. I'm very impressed. There's a starting level adventure in here that's very good. I actually enjoyed reading it, and I'll probably at one point or another will run it for my group. We're in the middle of D&D right now, and we're getting ready to start the Storm King Thunder. I'll have the book Tuesday when Amazon ships it to me, and Wednesday is our game night, and so I'm going to jump right into Storm King's Thunder. They're second level, about to hit third level, so it's going to be a perfect segue into it. So I'm really looking forward to it. But if we take a break and we want to play something different, this is probably what we'll play, just to give it a shot, and see if my players like it. I don't know if they will or they won't. Like I said, it's the skills in the game are a little bit different. There's no list of skills. You basically say what you can do, and then it's up to you to interpret that. That can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. One of my players is new to RPGs, and she's not very comfortable being the center of attention, and so might not be a good thing when you have to describe how your skills work, and you have to be a little more descriptive than normally. In D&D, she can kind of hide behind her husband, and he just tells her what to roll. But she's making an effort. She's invested in her character. She's come up with a character background and stuff. So it's always nice to get new players into the game where they want to play. And I think this is a really good game for some of those more creative people, that have a concept and they want to play it. And they've got a GM that's flexible like me. I'd like to think that I'm a very flexible GM, and that I want to run the game that my players want to play. And so games like Cypher System, I think, will help support that. So I'm really excited about it. I can't wait for the superhero setting. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to it. And when it comes out, I'll probably do a separate review on it. But again, if you see this at your favorite local game store, or if they're not carrying it, ask them to get a copy in, and run a game in your store. Expose people to it. It's another good game that's very creative, very open-ended. It's very narrative, um, and then the GM has a kind of an easy job. All you have to do is point the players in the direction and let them go, because any good GM will tell you, no matter how good your plans are, unless you put your adventure on railroads, your players are going to go off. They're going to go do their own thing, because what you think isn't important, they do, and they want to proceed with it. And so this is a game that really facilitates that, in my opinion, because the rules are so, I don't want to say open-ended, but the rules are very flexible. And I think that's very important with this type of game, to have flexible rules that allow the players to be creative, to exercise their imagination. Because let's face it, that's what we all do this for, is to tell a story, to be immersed, to escape, to have that fantasy, whatever it may be it cyberpunk, fantasy, horror, whatever it is, whatever that genre of game you're playing in, you're playing it because you want to be in that realm, and you want that enjoyment that you perceive from that environment. And so games like Cypher System, GURPS, Mutants and Masterminds even do a great job of that, because they're very open-ended, they're very flexible in their design system, allowing you to do pretty much what you want. And I think Monte Cook struck gold with this. I think he really hit the proverbial RPG design on the head of the nail for what gamers want. And I think if you have an open game group and they're willing to explore a non-traditional system, this is a really great way to go. It's going to give them a really good sandbox to play in, and they can do pretty much what they want. Your imagination is really the limit. So again, Cypher System, it's the generic rule book based on Numenera. It's the mechanics that Numenera and the Strange use. It's now its own core rule book, and it has multiple settings that are coming out for it. But again, there's generic information in here where you can make your own. So if you want a ninja pulp, Chinese, mafia, you can do it. I mean, it's a very generic framework, basically a lattice for you to build onto of what you want. So I have rambled on now close to 20 minutes. I think you get the point that I like it. I can't wait for the new source books to come out. As they come out, I'll probably pick them up. If your favorite local game store doesn't have it, ask them to order it. If not, if you live in the boonies like I do, and you don't have a super, awesome game store anywhere close to you, Amazon's your friend, man. Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, Warehouse 23, GURPS's online ordering. Miniature Market is also really good. I get a lot of stuff from them. So anyway, that's my thoughts and opinion on the Cypher System by Monte Cook and Bruce R. Cordell and team. Go out and get it. It's worth it. You'll enjoy it. If nothing else, you'll have a really good read, and it will spark your imagination for whatever game you're running right now. So anyway, this is Mr. Mean signing off again. Peace and hair grease.